What's up guys, I'm going to unbox and review this new Wi-Fi 7 router by NETGEAR. It's the Nighthawk RS600. Speed rating of B18,000, covers up to 3,300 square feet. Has two 10 gig ports, which is really nice, and can handle up to 150 devices. Quick start guide in 2 different languages, got some info in the back. Comes with a 30-day trial of NETGEAR Armor, which offers additional protections. Got the power supply, it is 100 to 240 volts, it's about 65 watts of power. Comes with the Cat 6 Ethernet cable. So we got the LED indicators right here, sync WPS button, LED on and off button. We got the little QR code they use when you're setting up. I'm hiding that. We got some vents up on top. We have a factory reset, power on and off. We have a 10 gigabit port right here. The rest of these 3 are gigabit ports. We got USB 3.0, and we also have a 10 gigabit port right here for the internet. So in my case, my internet speeds are 5 gigs up and down, so I could go in at 5 and come out at 5, which is fantastic. And then the power goes right here, and just like the other very recent Wi-Fi 7 Nighthawks, this can be wall mounted if you get the proper accessory for it. So I had a chance to play with this thing. I did all the speed test, range tests, I have all those numbers right here. I tested with the following Wi-Fi 7 devices, and I do have the iPhone 16 Pro Max, which is a Wi-Fi 7 device. However, I don't believe it supports the 320 megahertz channel width, and therefore can't go as fast as these two. And it has nothing to do with this router. I've tested this iPhone on various routers, and it just can't go as fast. And I am on iOS 18.3. In fact, I very recently got this update, and it just can't go that fast. In fact, I made a separate video comparing the speeds, the Wi-Fi 7 speeds of these 3 different phones. I'll link that down below if you guys are interested in checking out that video. It's actually an interesting watch. So no drops, something like that. The only issue that I ran into, that there is a very easy workaround, but worth mentioning, is it wouldn't allow me to pick my same SSID and password as my existing setup. So therefore, I usually do that, so all my devices automatically connect to this thing, but it wouldn't let me do that. So I basically picked a new SSID and my device is connected to that. I mean, I reconfigured them so I could connect to that, and then I did all the speed tests and everything. So that was really the only thing. And it wasn't that it didn't like my SSID or it didn't like my password, because I tried my password with a different SSID, that worked, and I tried my SSID with a different password, and that also works. It just didn't like my exact same SSID and my exact same password. So as you guys already know, when you're accessing the internet, you are limited by your internet speeds. For me, that would be 5 gigabits per second upload and download. And because this actually has 2 10 gig ports on here, when my internet comes in at 5, it actually could come out at 5. So when I do an internet speed test on my computer via Ethernet, and my computer does have a 10 gig card in there as well, but when I do a speed test on that, I do get the full 5 gigs up and down, no issues. However, the Wi-Fi devices can't typically go as fast as that. So looking at the results for an internet speed test, we got just under 3 gigabits download and 1.8 upload. So the upload is usually not as fast as the downloads on the internet speed test. Now, to find the true performance of this router, I make my computer into a server, and I go from Wi-Fi device to router to computer. And what this does is isolates the router, so I'm no longer relying on my ISP, which is my internet service provider, nor the public speed test server, which can be busy at times, so it depends on what time you're running the internet speed test and everything. It can actually change. So the local speed tests are typically more consistent, and I've done a separate video on how to set this up. I'll link that down below as well. So looking at the results for this thing, we got an incredible improvement on both download and especially the upload. I was actually very surprised on how fast the upload was. I was expecting the download to be fast, but the upload was just next level good at 3.85 gigabits per second. That is crazy fast. I was getting thirsty and I was like, let me go get a drink. And I was wondering, like, why do I like the shape of this Nighthawk router? For some reason, it's very familiar. And it just hit me that it looks exactly like my Cybertruck cup right here. At least pretty similar to it. Alright, so now let's jump into range tests. So range will vary drastically by location. Essentially, the more obstructions you have, typically the less range you can expect. So, you know, if you're in between floors, if there's a lot of thick walls, this stuff like that typically is going to hurt your range. More of an open area you're in, typically going to get better range. So at my place at 20 feet away, there was hardly a drop for the download, a decent enough drop for the upload. At 50 feet, this is when I'm outside my place, and I got very, very fast speeds. I mean, there's definitely a drop both in the download and in the upload, but still getting very, very fast speeds. And at 100 feet across the street, I'm still getting almost gigabit per second download speeds, and obviously the upload speed is quite suffering a lot more, but still very, very fast overall. So performance-wise, this thing is actually doing really well. So next we get up to setup and configuration. So you have two options for this. Number one is you could use the Nighthawk app, which is available both on iOS and on Android. And number two, you can actually just use a browser interface and not get the app at all. And if you do decide to go through the browser option, you basically have to be hooked up to this via Ethernet on a computer, and you go to the default gateway, which I believe for this is 192.168.1.1, and then you can actually set it up that way. When you go there, it's like, hey, do you want to download the Nighthawk app? And it's like, you could just say, there's an option that says I don't have a compatible phone, and when you click on that, then it just lets you set it up with the browser interface. So if you did, because sometimes I get a question like, do I need to set it up with the app? Do I need the app? And with this one, technically you don't. I mean, I do have the app, I like it, but technically it's not necessary. But the app itself is actually a very simplified app, and I think it's designed like that on purpose because it just gives you the main option. So you pretty much see the devices you're connecting to, you can see the NETGEAR Armor, and then you could do internet speed tests directly on the router itself, which I personally don't use. I like to do internet speed tests on the devices. That gives me more of a true representation of the internet speeds. You have basic parental controls, which you could pretty much just pause and unpause devices. If you want more advanced parental controls, that actually requires a separate subscription. And then you know the Wi-Fi name, you can combine all three bands into one Wi-Fi name for your main Wi-Fi, or you can have it into three separate Wi-Fi names. You can have a separate one for the 2.4, separate one for the 5 GHz band, and a separate one for the 6 GHz band. The guest option doesn't give you a comment like the you can't combine the SSIDs. So I was like, combination, it's like skipping my mind. It's just three different SSIDs. So you have a 2.4, a 5, and a 6, and then you don't have to turn them all on. You can have one on, you can have none on, you can have all three on. It just depends on you. And then pretty much reports. You can also do a firmware update and stuff like that. So that's pretty much the gist of the app. However, the browser interface, there you go to what I like to call it as Tinkerland, which is basically if you want to tinker with the settings, if you want to change the settings and everything like that, that's where you would go. So in addition to all of those, you get you could set up a VPN if you wanted to. You could set up a VLAN, which I didn't play with, but technically you could set up a VLAN there. You could set up a schedule for Wi-Fi. You could block sites if you wanted to. And you could set up, customize your DHCP list. You could do static routes. There's basically a lot more options in there. You could turn off the lights if you want to do link aggregation. That's where you would go. And then if you want to set up an external hard drive to be shared on your network, don't expect crazy fast speeds from that, just as a heads up. But if you did want to share that, that's where you would go to set that up as well. So there's a lot more options in the browser interface than there is in the app. Final thoughts. This router is a really good choice for a standalone router because it can handle internet speeds of up to 10 gigabits. And it has two of those very fast ports. So it could go in at up to 10 and come out at up to 10. So you're not losing any of that speed. If you have more devices, you could connect this to a 10 gig switch and then spread that across. In fact, that's what I do. I actually have a couple 10 gig switches. So this actually goes to a 10 gig switch and then that goes to a few different things. So performance-wise, this thing is solid. Very fast numbers and very good range overall. And I think that's really its main selling point was its performance. So it also gives you a decent number of options. The only thing, again, worth noting was that it didn't let me use my same SSID and password. So aside from that, again, I could use a different SSID. I could use the same SSID, but just a different password as well. So aside from that, solid performance. So this wraps up my Nighthawk router reviews, and I'm actually testing out the RS600. So, because I tested that like, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something like that. It's been a while since I've tested that. So I'm basically retesting that. So I will compare that with the RS600, the 500, the 300, and the 200. So subscribe if you guys haven't already. Let me know what you guys think in the comment sections below. And as always, smash that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.